put it that way. We managed to get, with 6R4.net's help, the 001 prototype car, which was designed at Williams Grand Prix. We've got the original engineer here, Brian O'Rourke.
We'll talk to Brian in just a moment.
We worked with John Piper, with Patrick Head. That's the real deal, as the Matthew.
So would that have been, was it Colin Malkin was the test driver?
Yeah, Colin did some tests. No, the main test driver actually was Steve Soper, and they did it all up at Chalgrove. He's got the sort of reputation of being the first person to crash a 6R4. He won't love me for that. I hope he's just down the bottom out of the way. So yeah, they did all the testing up at Chalgrove Airfield and also at Cadwell Park. The original cars had no wings on it or nothing. So because it was the Formula One connection, John Piper and Brian O'Rourke came up with the idea of raiding the parts bin at Williams and sticking wings on the car. Pom thought they were off their heads, but they went up to Cadwell one morning and he did a lap without the wings. They put the wings on and he went 2 seconds a lap faster. So hence the ugly duckling got wings.
Right, let's talk to engineer. Come, engineer, come. Yeah, Brian, sit there. Get dirty. Is that true? Was it pretty much raid the parts bin?
Well, yes, but there's a bit more to it, as you'd imagine.
You're an engineer, of course there is.
Yeah. Well, there's some aspects of it that do amuse me looking back. John Piper, who was the other guy between the two of us, we designed most of that car. So John looked after transmission, suspension, the tricky bit. I did the structure, which was really about, just trying to put something together that might help the driver in the event of a shunt, I think, which it subsequently did. But he had this idea. He really believed that downforce on a rally car would be useful. And plenty of the traditionalists thought that was a stupid idea because on the loose, it's just loose. Anyway, he said, well, look, we're going to try this out. Depends how long you got, actually. So what we did was he found a wing that had been on an F1 car, a rear wing, great big thing, utterly inappropriate, but he wanted to make a point. So one of the fabricators and myself worked out how to hold it on the back, and we took it to a wind tunnel test at Myra. We went in the full-size tunnel at Myra, and the story goes, and this is absolutely true, we spent a day messing around with Austin Rover's aerodynamicists, cutting the gutter rails down and that sort of thing, drag reduction, and in the afternoon we pretty well got through all of that, and the technicians went off for tea break. While they were away, we bolted this great big wing on the back of the car, and when they came back, fired the wind tunnel up, and one said to the other, something wrong here. What's that? I'm getting negative lift. Which made our point, but it was such an amount of downforce you couldn't balance it at the front. So quite a while later, when we finally took the car out to test at Cadwell Park, John said, look, I really want to try this, but we can't put that stupid great thing. So we found a smaller one. It was actually a flat from an F1 car from a couple of years before, and Ian Anderson, the technician, the fabricator who was doing the work, I said to him, look, we can't, we have these great big end plates with this big wing. I said, we need to cut that down. So we fitted this flat, and he said, where do you want me to cut it? And I went, like that and like that. And that's what turned up on 200 cars later on. It was quite ridiculous. But no, it is true. We went to Cadwell. We didn't have a front wing as such. It had a bib splitter to just help balance it. And that's a modest amount of downforce, but that was enough to actually impress Tony Pond that it was worth doing.
It's hard to drive, but once you get to know the car, it's a year I'm glad I didn't miss, and just regret that we were banned at the end of '86. We would have had a programme for '87, and I think it would have been great. It takes a wee while to get used to these cars, but there was something special at the time, really.
Very different to a Vauxhall.
Yes, very different to a Vauxhall. When I went to a test before I drove it with Tony Pond, and I sat beside Tony a bit, and obviously tried to frighten the shit out of me. And he says, I bet you'll spin the car when you drive it. And I said, no, I won't spin it. About 6 corners and I spun it. He says, you need to learn young with this car, McRae.
Right, but pass it back to Malcolm if we can. Malcolm, you were one of the works drivers. You were alongside Pondy. You were quite young at the time. That was, why are you looking like that? Sorry, yeah, no, I'm not alluding to the fact that you're older. Gracious me. Even though you're the vice president, ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky to get him here. So, what was it like for you to be given this opportunity?
We were just saying, Di and myself here, it was an incredible time, and we didn't appreciate it, to be honest. But it's just like Jim said, it's a shame, it's tragedy what happened in Corsica with Henry. Because I'm sure some of these guys, I had a 3-year contract, so the plan was, the first year you would learn the events and get the experience and build on it. But sadly we never got that chance, and in these great cars. I think sadly we also fell behind a bit with the Metro in terms of the power stakes in relation to the other cars.
Yeah.
But it was still a really good handling package.
When you drove it for the first car, first time you sat in it and drove it, did you get out of it and just go, wow?
At the time, I'd been doing all the testing of the RS200.
Oh right.
So of course, then I went to test the Metro, and the thing that impressed me at the time was that I drove it the whole day, and it was so reliable. We didn't have any issues whatsoever. So that was one of the deciding factors that made me sort of move across to MG at the time, and then the rest is history.
Was it an easy car to drive or a difficult car to drive, or was it just Jim found it difficult because he's not as good as you are? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Pardon?
I mean, he's as you know, he's a lot older, so he found it a bit harder to adapt.
Jim, a bit older.
Yeah, it's cheeky. I met him in my second rally in 1974, and the only difference was that he was slightly younger than me. It was our second rally, so I've known him all that time, and he can be quite cheeky.
Nothing's changed, Jimmy. Nothing's changed, and even now that he's at the FIA, it won't change. They won't know what's hit him.
I'm sure he'll get worse.
Dave, let's talk to you about it as well. It was, for you, a great experience.
Yes, it certainly was, because I turned professional in '85 with Audi, and like Malcolm said, this opportunity came along, 3-year contract, and for me it was British Championship, European Championship, and then World Championship, so those were my stepping stones to get in behind these boys, and you asked, were they difficult cars? I think all the Group B cars were difficult cars. They were
beasts.
They were beasts. I mean, I drove a Sport Quattro. For me, it just wanted to get off the road at every opportunity. It was 650 horsepower, but there was no, this anti-lag or anything like that. So the 650 horsepower came at one time, and all the 4 wheels were spinning, and you were just, going towards the hedge. It was quite scary. Of course, the engine was a long way forward. So when I drove them, tested the Metro also, I thought, wow, this is a bit easier, because the power was a bit more progressive, and yes, it did like swap ends. That was an issue with the car.
And was it a silly question? But was it a noisy car? Because I remember being in a Mark II Escort and rallying in that, and you went on road sections. It was fine. Getting a Metro 6R4, if you didn't have a peltor on, you couldn't talk to each other.
Correct. I mean, the engine's sitting directly behind you, just with a bit of perspex there, and it was a problem on the stages, because they've got super duper helmets now with your peltor fixed in them, but we didn't have that then, and we were doing all sorts of things to try and close the noise out, and so we could hear the co-driver. Well, it was a serious problem.
Well, back in your day, the helmets were cork, weren't they? Back
And talking about Jimmy now, not me.
Oh, this isn't fair. This is good at Jimmy McRae Day. Look at that. That's dear, oh dear. Let's pass back to Malcolm. Is there a comparison between a Metro 6R4 And a Puma?
Honestly, you cannot compare. Technology and everything's come on so much in every aspect. I would say that there's no question that Puma is definitely a lot easier to drive than what the Group B, the Beasts, were. And to be honest, all of the current cars, they do what it says on the tin. You know, as you can see, they're all so close. It's incredible how competitive, you know, the three different manufacturers can be against each other.
Your Mark 1 Escort is here and going round, and you haven't got in it yet to drive it. I'm shocked.
And I won't be getting in it to drive it either.
It's past it.
You'll be too slow. You drove the Mark 1 Escort in the British Rally Championship last year and did all right.
Yeah, I managed to win my class. It was Mark 2. It was a Mark 2 Escort.
I thought it was a Mark 1. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it was a Mark 1. It's all right, there we are.
It was a Mark 1, yes. Yeah, I managed to win my class. It was 50
You're
years.
about to take your granddaughter in a rally car.
Yeah, and the McRae stages at Knockhill. I'm not sure what I'm driving yet, but Holly's going to sit in the co-driver's seat. So another McRae event. So we'll see how that goes. She's, from doing her teacher's degree, she's just suddenly get into motorsport, and she's away at 1,000,000 miles an hour now.
She's not bad in the new job.
She's related to me. She's got to be good.